hempence each. How is the good woman? Give us one of them cans there in the window, please. Give us the sweets as well. Take the two of them out of that. They're grand bullseyes, and that'll make a good blacker can, that. Remember the way people used to make milk jugs out of these cans years ago? You have a bullseye or a cola cube. Do you like cola cubes? Take another one. Oh, you have a handful there. Good girl. Moira Glass. Of course, Moira gets its name from St. Nicholas of Moira, Francis Street, and the Moira Glass Works reflects all that is best in Liberty crafts and workmanships. New Row was built on one branch of the Poddle River as it flowed down here into the city of Dublin. Of course, the Poddle River was harnessed by several mills. Old Bush's Mill still stands today, despite all the wear and tear, and has the character of being a very sound edifice built to last the centuries. All along here, Mill Street was a hive of mills. There was whiskey, there was calico, there was cotton, there was rope. It's hard to realise that the Poddle River flowed down here. There's not a trace of it today, except at one place up there at Warden Mount, but it's very hard to get it. So that the Poddle can't be seen. But all under these buildings and under these roadways, the old Poddle rolls on like Old Man River, going down there into the Liffey and out into the sea. Do you know, Mill Street isn't the same since the smell of O'Keefe the Knackers is gone. To Dubliners, it was only a smell. But do you know that O'Keefe's were celebrated for their manures? Irish manufacture. For centuries, they were the best and the cheapest. Brabazon Place. Of course, King Henry VIII gave William Brabazon the liberty of Thomas's court in the north, and the Brabazons became the Barons of Ardee and the Earls of Meath. That's how you get the Earl of Meath liberty. This was the dower house of the Brabazon family in the Liberties. Ward's Hill, where Mr. Bullion had his flower gardens and grew the first pineapples in Ireland. There must have been a fair bit of sunshine in Dublin in those days. I'm walking in the footsteps of Zosimus. Michael Morden, the blind ballad singer, who was born in Fadalally in 1794 and died in 1846 in number 14.5 Patrick Street. Well, Zosimus used to say, when I go to me home in Fadalally, I like to go be Fumbley Lane, because the cobblestones on Fumbley Lane are nicer. Now this is Fumbley Lane. Fadalally was off Ducker Lane, but actually the right name of the lane originally was Tucker Lane, called after George Tucker, who was a sheriff of Dublin in 1731. But this is Fumbley Lane, and I'd say that they're the same cobblestones that old Zosimus walked along, tapping his stick, going home after reciting his ballads and his poems up around Smithfield and the Haymarket and up around Patrick Street and Christ Church. Zosimus had a great crowd of friends. In the early days when he was a young man, he had all the old ballad singers of Dublin to help him to recite, because you must remember, he was blind, he couldn't read. And how he got his name, Zosimus, was Bishop Kyle, who was the Bishop of Raphoe, Dr. Kyle. He wrote a book, St. Mary of Egypt. And in the book it told the story that Zosimus found St. Mary in the wilderness in the 5th century. Zosimus was the holy man. And our Zosimus would stand around and he'd say, gather around me. Am I standing in a puddle? Is it wet? Are my feet wet? No, go on, Zosimus, you're in a lovely dry spot. Go on with your old yarn. Go on with Moses. Give us St. Mary of Egypt, Zosimus. And Zosimus then would stand and he'd raise his hat and put his hand up to his forehead as if he was in prayer. As he said himself afterwards, he used to be waiting for the gods to inspire him. And then after a few inaudible words, he'd start off. But there was something like 220 lines in the poem St. Mary of Egypt. And how Zosimus learned it and memorised it was wonderful. Now all his old friends came down this lane, around to his home in Fadlally. Stony Pockets, the dear man, only the fool, who they say was as wise as an owl. And you had Fat Mary, who was the prima donna of the Dublin streets. And then you had Peg the man. And they'd all go up to Bobby Tompkins up in Cannon Street and get his dray and go off out to Cullinswood. And Zosimus would recite, they'd all sing and dance and whistle. And this was the characters of this area of the Liberties of Dublin.
Poor old Dicey Riley, she has taken to the sup. Ah, poor old Dicey Riley, she will never give it up. For it's off each morning till I'm up.
We're coming down to the Cross Puddle, or as the Dubliners used to say, the four corners of hell. It's a story about Dan Donnelly's wife was out one Holy Thursday doing the 7 chapels, and they say Dan was doing the 5 pubs, the four corners of hell and the capstan's bar. I'm not out in the wilds of the jungle. I'm standing in the centre of Cromwell's cabbage garden in the heart of the Liberties. When Cromwell came here in 1649, he stabled his horses on the high altar of St. Patrick's Cathedral, and his troops came over here and planted cabbage plants. Apparently it was their favourite vegetable. Now, when the Huguenots were run out of France, they came to the Liberty area with their weaving skills and their other trades. And they got a chapel, St. Mary's, in Patrick's Cathedral. They got portion of this land here as their burial ground. And this is where lie all the Huguenots who died down through the 1665, 1670, 1766, and on down through the years. This is a Huguenot graveyard, and this, I suppose, is where lie the remains of the Fontaines and the Montaignes, the Latouches, the Gilberts, the Lear Street, they were Huguenots, the Turpins, the Moirels, the Merciers, and this is where they were all buried. The people in Dublin used to say, I'm as honest as a Huguenot. That was a great honour and a great tribute to anyone. And I'm here in the Huguenot graveyard where all the honest Huguenots, men, women and children of Dublin lie to rest. May Lord have mercy on the Huguenots.